To electrocardiography of this lecture. Before knowing about electrocardiography, you have to understand that there is some sort of electrical activity that is taking place in the heart. Okay, so because of this electrical activity, the heart muscle is contracting. So by recording this electrical activity, we will know how the heart muscle is functioning. By understanding the heart muscle function, we will be able to understand the pathological aspect of the heart. This is the concept of electrocardiography. Okay, so we call it's a process of a composite of the action potential generated by nodal and contractile cells at the given time. Okay, so in ECG there are three waves, that is P wave, QRS complex wave and T wave. These are the three wave components of ECG. So coming to the P wave, it is representing systole of both atrium. Okay, that's where there is depolarization of SA node is taking place. Okay, then QRS wave, when you speak about QRS wave complex, it is ventricular depolarization where the contraction of ventricle is taking place. Okay, then the T wave is representing the repolarization. Okay, where the diastole is taking place. So P wave and QRS wave represent systole, that is the depolarization, and the T wave represents diastole, that is repolarization. Okay, now we will look at the concepts of ECG. We will look at the concepts of ECG. If you look here is a SA node, sinoatrial node. This will generate electrical impulse and it spread all over the myocardium through this AV node, bundle of His, right and left bundle branch and the Purkinje fibers. Okay, so during the time of atrial contraction, the P wave is formed. Okay, so then during the time of both the ventricle contraction, the QRS wave is formed. Okay, then during the time of relaxation, that is the diastole, the T wave is formed. So this three wave, P, QRS wave and T wave represents one heartbeat, one cardiac cycle, that is systole and the diastole. Okay, that is the systole and the diastole. So it takes 0.8 seconds. Okay, that is 800 millisecond. So one heartbeat takes 0.8 second. In that contraction of the heart, that is the systole, takes 0.4 second, and the relaxation of the heart, that takes 0.4 second. So 0.4 is systole timing and 0.4 is the diastole timings. 0.4 plus 0.4 is equal to 0.8. That is one complete cardiac cycle. That is one complete cardiac cycle. Okay, so the time taken between the formation of P wave and Q wave is equal to PQ interval. Okay, then the time that is taken between the ventricular contraction and the relaxation, that is from Q to T, is called as QT interval. Okay, so this is the end of the S wave and this is the beginning of the T wave, and the distance between the S wave and T wave is called as ST segment. Okay, so this is called as QRS complex that is formed during the ventricular systole. This is the wave component of ECG. This is a wave component of ECG. So during the time of atrial systole, the SA node will release the electrical impulse. That time P wave is formed. Okay, then the electrical impulse will travel through all the ventricular muscles. That time the ventricle contracts, that and here is a place where the QRS wave is formed during the time of recording. Okay, then followed by diastole. During the diastole, the ventricle and the atrium will relax at the same time, thereby the T wave is formed. and this is how the T wave is formed. So this is this part is depolarization, that is the systole, and this part is the repolarization, that is the diastole. Okay, so you can see normal, this is normal sinus rhythm, that is one P wave, then QRS wave and T wave. Okay, this is one heartbeat. Likewise, one P wave, QRS wave and T wave, this is another heartbeat. Likewise, one P wave, QRS wave and T wave, this is a third heartbeat. Okay, so this is a normal sinus rhythm. So this paper, you can see there is large big squares, and inside the paper there is small squares. Okay, if you look closely, so you can count the number of heartbeat. The formula is 300 divided by number of big squares between the R and R interval. This is R interval and this is R interval. So in between you have to count how many big square is there. For example, 1, 2, 3, 3.5. Okay, so the formula for conducting the counting the heartbeat is 300 divided by number of big square. Okay, 300 divided by number of big square. So for this patient, if you divide 300 divided by 3.5, the heartbeat is 85 beats per minute. Okay, this is how you are calculating the heartbeat in the ECG. Okay, the 300 divided by number of big squares between one R interval to another R interval. Okay, if the beat is 120, then there will be only one big square. Okay, here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 300 divided by 6, 50. So the heartbeat is 50 beats per minute. Okay, that is bradycardia. What is the normal heartbeat? 72 times 72 beats per minute is the normal pulse rate. Pulse is nothing but the heart rate. Okay, so it should be normal pulse. Okay, so what happens when the heart rate goes below 60? We call it as bradycardia. When the heart rate goes above 100, we call it as tachycardia. Okay, so when the heart rate is between 70 to 75, it is normal sinus rhythm. Okay, normal sinus rhythm. So likewise, coming to the second degree heartbeat. So in this place, what happens? The conduction is not taking place. The electrical conduction is not taking place in the heart. That is why there is long gap between the QRS wave. You see, there is waves mostly 2:1. Okay, so likewise in this place, what happens? There is abnormal heart beating. The heart may be fibrillating, may be vibrating abnormally. So in that case, you can record there is no time to form PQRS wave and T wave. So the heart waves are forming like this. This shows the ventricle is fibrillating. Okay, so this is how. Likewise, if there is damage of the myocardium, there will be ST elevation and T wave inversion. T wave will be inverted. This T wave will be inverted and ST will be elevated. Okay, that is the ECG for myocardial ischemia. Okay, I will show you some other topics. Okay, now coming to the cardiac cycle. You have to understand the systole and diastole pattern of the heart. Okay, so if you see here, the cardiac cycle, all events associated with the blood flow to the heart during one complete heartbeat is called as cardiac cycle. So cardiac cycle means there is one contraction of the heart and one relaxation of the heart. The contraction of the heart is called as systole and relaxation of the heart is called as the diastole. Okay, so during the time of systole, what happens? During the time of diastole, what happens? So what we will do, we will see the systole first. Okay, then we will come to the diastole. Okay, so what happens during the time of systole? Both the atrium will contract. During the time of systole, both the atrium will contract. Okay, that means what? All the blood will enter into the right and left atrium, and the systole will take place. So the systole will take place first in the both the atrial chambers. So during that time, the valve will open in the interventricular septum, and it comes to the ventricle. The blood will come to the ventricle. Okay, so that is what we call it as the first phase, that is the atrial contraction. Then during this time, when blood comes to the ventricle, then the atrial systole will be followed by ventricular systole. That time what happens? The valves between the two chambers will close and the semilunar valve will open. So during the time ventricular contraction, all the blood will go through these major vessels. Okay. So here from the left ventricle it will go, right ventricle it goes to the pulmonary trunk. From the left ventricle it goes through the aorta. From the left ventricle it goes through the aorta. Okay. So this is the sequence. So then during the time of diastole, what happens? There will be filling of this atrium and the ventricle. Okay, so both the atrium. So during time diastole, all the four chambers will relax at a time. So this is what is happening during the time of diastole. So if you look at this step, first there is ventricular filling. Here they are coming starting from the middle. There is ventricular filling. Okay. The ventricle is relaxing from previous beat. Atrial pressure increases as atria fills with returning blood. Then ventricle fills to 80%. Filling occurs before atrial contracts. Then the atrial contraction is starting where the 20% of the ventricle filling occurs. Okay. So completed prior to ventricular contraction. The ventricular volume now is this end diastolic volume. You have to know at the time of end of diastole, the blood that remains in the ventricle we call it as end diastolic volume. Okay. Then isovolumetric ventricular contraction takes place where both these valves will close and the blood will rush through these great vessels. Okay. So during this time the ventricular ejection is taken. The ventricle will eject the blood that is present here, and the semilunar valve will open, and aortic and ventricular pressure is going to 120 millimeter of mercury. So this is the systolic pressure. So whenever you record this blood pressure, you will record by systole by diastole. Okay. So the systole, you will record it by the systole by systole. So normal blood pressure is 120 millimeter mercury by 80 millimeter of mercuric pressure. Okay. So when the ventricle is ejecting the blood, this amount of normal pressure is seen in the aorta. So this pressure spreads all the way through all the blood arteries of the body. Okay. Now coming to this, after this ventricular ejection, the isovolumetric ventricular relaxation is taking place. That is the diastolic. So in that time, the blood that is present in the ventricle we call it as end systolic volume. So in this phase, what happens? The atrioventricular valve will open as ventricle pressure drops and ventricle begins to fill again. Okay. So this is the summary of the events that is taking place during. You can listen carefully. Is here first the ventricular filling is taking place. Then what happens? The valve will close and the blood will go through the great vessels like this. Okay, to the pulmonary trunk and the aorta. Then after that, this is the early diastole. Okay, the isometric relaxation, that is the diastole is taking place, and after diastole there will be atrial filling, and then the atrial blood will come into the ventricle, and then the atrial blood will come into the ventricle. Okay, so this is what you have to understand in the cardiac cycle. So for this, around the cardiac cycle, it takes around 0.8 seconds. Okay, for one what you see, for in a very simple way to understand, this is one cardiac cycle. This is one cardiac cycle. You may think I am crazy, but I have to show you this. Okay, so okay, imagine this is systole and this is diastole. Okay, so this is 0.4 second, and systole it takes 0.4 second, diastole it takes 0.4 second. So both systole and diastole is equal to 0.8 seconds. Okay, this is one cardiac cycle time. For one heart to contract and relax, it takes this much amount of time. Okay, so what happens during the time of systole? Only the atrium will contract first, so which is taking place in 0.1 second, which is taking place in 0. This atrial systole is followed by ventricular systole, which takes 0.3 second. So in this atrial systole, the P wave is formed in the ECG. Okay, then during the ventricular systole, the QRS wave is formed. QRS wave is formed. This is QRS. This is P wave. Okay, and during the time of diastole, all the four chambers will relax, and it takes the 0.4 seconds, and where the T wave is formed. Okay, so P wave atrial systole, QRS wave ventricular systole, and T wave all the four chamber diastole. So this is one heartbeat in the ECG, and this is one cardiac cycle. Very simple. You see, everywhere they are confusing. Don't say, I don't want to say that it is confusing. You have to first understand in a very simple language, then go for complicated understanding. Okay, fine. So next we will go to the heart sounds. Well, these heart sounds, generally the heart sounds are developed by the closure of heart valves. Keep that in mind. Heart sound is developed by closure of heart valves. Okay, so there are four valves: bicuspid valve, tricuspid valve, which is called as atrioventricular valve, and the semilunar valve, that is the aortic and the pulmonary valve. So the first heart sound is called as lub, and the second heart sound is called as the dub. Okay, the first heart sound is called as the lub, that is due to closure of this atrioventricular valve, that is the bicuspid and tricuspid valves. Okay, the second heart sound is caused by due to closure of semilunar valves, that is aortic and the pulmonary valves. Okay, so dub and lub is the heart sounds. Okay, so when there is damage to the valves, or when there is damage to the threads, that is the cardiac tensioning, or if there is narrowing of the valve, then there is some extra sound which we call it as heart murmurs. Okay, there are different types of murmurs: systolic murmur, diastolic murmur, missionary murmur, pansystolic murmur, end diastolic murmur, many types of murmur. Murmur is abnormal heart sound. So heart sound. So when you say heart sound is S1 and S2, that means heart sound is normal lub sound and normal dub sound. Lub sound we call it as S1 sound, dub sound we call it as S2 sound. Okay, normal S1 and S2. So if there is S3, S4, these are all abnormal sounds which we call it as murmurs or gallops or clicks. So different types of abnormal sound is there. Okay, so when you want to hear the heart sound, you see, just wherever the shirt packet is there, that is the location of the heart. Okay, So the aortic valve sound is heard in the right side, the tricuspid valve sound is heard in the right side, whereas the pulmonary valve sound is heard in the left side, and the mitral sound is heard in the apex of the heart. Okay, so these are all the place where you have to place the stethoscope and hear the heart sound and hear the heart sounds. Okay, so coming to this stroke volume and heart rate, this stroke volume is the amount of blood that is ejected out during the ventricular contraction. Objective, we will study about this stroke volume, that is the amount of blood that is ejected out from the heart for one contraction of the ventricle. That's what we call the stroke volume. And also the heart rate, the speed of the rate, that is the pulse that you measure in the blood vessels. Okay, so and we also will understand about the autonomic nervous system involvement, that is how the nervous system is controlling the speed of the heart. Okay, this is what you will understand here. So coming to this cardiac output, it's a volume of blood pumped by heart in 1 minute. Okay, as I told you, for 1 minute the average heartbeat is 72 times per minute. Okay, generally the stroke volume is 70 ml. Okay, generally the stroke volume is 70 ml. I'll show you how the stroke volume is calculated. So for 1 minute it is around 72 beats into 70 ml is equal to 5040 ml is a cardiac output for normal heartbeat. That means what? Your body has only 5 liters of blood. Okay, that is 5000 ml, and all the 5 liters of blood is circulated within 1 minute. Okay, so you see how much wonderful mechanism is taking place in the heart. Okay, so the cardiac output is equal to the volume of blood pumped by heart in 1 minute. Okay, so cardiac output is equal to heartbeat, that is 72, into stroke volume, that is 70 ml. So 72 into 70, that is 5040 ml is a cardiac output. Okay, for normal average adult. Okay, so heart rate is the number of times the heart is beating for 1 minute. Okay, for example, I told you the heart takes 0.8 seconds for one beat. So 0.8 into 60 is equal to it is 48 beats. Okay, but the heart is beating 72 times per minute. The heart is beating 72 times per minute. Okay, so the stroke volume is equal to the volume of blood pumped out by one ventricle is ventricle with each beat. Okay, actually the capacity of the left ventricle is 70 ml. So when the left ventricle contracts, the left ventricle is said to be the largest chamber. Okay, the left ventricle is said to be the largest chamber. So when this left ventricle contracts, then 70 ml of blood is being pushed out. Okay, so the cardiac output is equal to 5200 ml, approximately 5 liters of blood per minute. Okay, that's the cardiac output. So factors involved in determining cardiac output, for example, there are many factors. Sometimes some people are sitting idle in the home, some people are jogging in the early morning, some people are always sleeping in the house. Okay, so these are all various factors where the heart rate is altered, the speed of the heartbeat is altered. Okay, so there is something called end diastolic volume and end systolic volume. I will show you what is that. So for example, the exercise will increase the skeletal muscle activity. So when the skeletal muscle contracts more, then you need more amount of blood supply. So naturally the heart rate has to be increased by the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, suppose if the heart rate allows more time for ventricle filling, then it all depends on the amount of venous blood that is returning back. Okay, so likewise hormonal influence, then exercise, okay, anxiety, all these are the factors that is affecting the heartbeat, that is affecting the speed of the heart. Okay, so regulation of stroke volume is equal to end diastolic volume minus end systolic volume. How do you find end diastolic volume? It is determined by how long ventricle diastole lasts. For example, diastole of the ventricle, it is lasting for 0.4 seconds. Okay, that's the venous pressure. So end systolic volume is determined by arterial blood pressure. So what is the normal blood pressure? That is systolic pressure is 120 millimeter of mercuric pressure. Okay, so systolic volume is equal to end diastolic volume minus end systolic volume, that is 120 ml minus 50 ml is equal to 70 ml per beat is the stroke volume. It is the stroke volume. So factors affecting the stroke volumes are preload, contractility and afterload. Preload is degree of the stretch of the heart muscles, then contractility, the effectiveness of the contraction of the heart muscles, and also back pressure exerted by the arterial blood. Okay, so for example, if the vascular resistance is more, that is the peripheral blood vessels will go in for constriction, that is what we call it as vascular resistance. So this vascular resistance will give more back pressure. Okay, so that back pressure is called as afterload, which is also affecting the cardiac output. Okay, which is also affecting the cardiac output. So in the preload, what happens? For example, this preload is depending on the degree of stretch of the heart muscle. So what happens? You can give many examples. For example, if valvular disease are there, then the preload pressure is disturbed. Okay, so likewise afterload, for example, if more cholesterol is present in the blood, or if there is vascular peripheral resistance, the peripheral vascular, then also the blood stroke volume is affected. Okay, so likewise you can this is called as the relationship between stroke volume and preload is called as Frank-Starling law of the heart. Okay, you can get in the question small multiple choice answers about the Frank-Starling law of the heart. Then the relationship between the stroke volume and preload is called as Frank-Starling law. The increased venous return distance stretches the ventricles and increases contraction. Okay, so thus maintaining the equality of right and left cardiac outputs. Okay, so this is how the cardiac output in the right heart and the left heart is balanced. Okay, so the end diastolic volume is influenced by the systolic volume. Sympathetic nerves will increase the heart rate and increase the cardiac output. Then neurotransmitters like norepinephrine increases the contractility of the given end diastolic volume. Thus, it increases systolic volume resulting from the sympathetic stimulation and is dependent to in diastolic volume. Okay, so other factors like negative inotropic agents increases the heart contractility, positive inotropic agents decreases the contractility. Okay, like potassium and calcium. Okay, so all the cardiac output depends on the contractility of the heart also. Okay, so the afterload, that is the back pressure exerted by the arterial blood, then pressure on the ventricle must generate or order to eject blood into the aorta. Okay, so afterload, the pressure that must be overcome for ventricles to eject blood. Hypertension increases afterload, resulting in the increased end systolic volume and reduce the stroke volume. Okay, so how the heart rate is regulated? As I told you, heart beating is taking place by the generation of electric impulse in the heart itself, by generation of electrical impulse in the heart. But the speed of the heartbeat is alone controlled by the nervous system. As I told you, the heart is an independent organ, that's why it is supplied by the autonomic nervous system, that is the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So there are baroreceptor effect and brain bridge reflex. For example, if the blood pressure volume is less, what happens in the aortic arch? What happens? There are some baroreceptor cells which senses the low pressure of the blood vessel, and then thereby it stimulates it gives information to the brain. Then through the sympathetic chains, the heart rate will increase. Okay, you see, sometimes children may vomit for 10 times and have loose motion for 15-20 times. That time the patient will be dehydrated. So in this case, what happens? Blood volume is low, the child will faint. So if you count the pulse, the heart rate will be 150, 160, 170, because the heart has to beat fast to supply enough amount of blood to the body. That's the responsibility of the heart. So by the speed of the heart, you can know the patient is dehydrated or normally hydrated. Okay, so these are all detected by the baroreceptor cells. Okay, then chemical regulation, for example, hormone epinephrine and thyroxine will increase the heartbeat. Okay, likewise other factors, age, gender, exercise, body temperature influence the heartbeat. If there is pyrexia, that is high body temperature, the heart rate will be high. Okay, so when you count the pulse of the 2-year-old baby or 1-year-old child, the pulse will be around 100. That is a normal heart rate for the small children. Okay, but for adult it will be 72. If the adult heart rate is around 100, that means what? There is some fever. Only in high body temperature the heart rate is also increasing. So this is the basic fact that you have to know about the heart rates. Okay, so you can continue reading with Mariam, and I will show you practically and teach you what, then it will be easy for you to understand the heart function in the following lecture. Okay.